This is the first time I'm trying it this way, so be gentle. There's not a lot that I want to touch on. It's mostly about people who are changelings. They start in a relationship one way and then become a completely different person through the course of the relationship. And there's a lot of reasons that people might do this. But I want to focus on people that I actually am within the Venn diagram of people who are considered neurodivergent. And as the name implies, it's people who are not normal. Question. Hi, Brittany. People who are not considered normal on the spectrum, right? So you have people who are, for example, like myself, bipolar. And this is a perfect example of why somebody who has a different brain chemistry might act differently in a relationship. In my relationships in the past, I've gone from a practice that's called love bombing to being an abusive asshole, and I'll own that. I am working on it, and actually, currently, I have no interest in pursuing any kind of partnership with a person. And that the reason is twofold. Number one, I don't feel like I'm emotionally mature or stable enough for a full-time committed relationship, whether that's a primary partnership or a secondary or tertiary partnership. I believe in relationship anarchy. I don't think that everybody fits this perfect mold of, well, this is my boyfriend, this is my girlfriend, this is my lover, this is my... No, it's like, I mean, sometimes a friendship turns into a loving sexual partnership and then goes back to being a friendship. And I feel more comfortable with that model than with the idea that I have one soulmate out of all the people on this planet. I only have one soulmate that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. That's complete and utter bullshit to me. But I'm okay with that Disney fantasy for somebody else. That's fine. But for myself, I don't believe in it. I'm currently isolating myself and insulating myself from other outside external relationship factors because I don't think I'm ready. I think I need to do some self-work. I need to process. I need to heal. And that takes time. I don't know if I'll ever be ready. And I'm completely fine with all of that. If I die alone, a hermit, many people have lived that life. And it seems like a nice life to live. The second reason I don't really have any interest in a relationship right now is because they take a lot of work, which I'm not willing to do. It's not that I'm lazy, although that might be a factor too. It's that I have better things to focus on than somebody else's feelings. Doesn't mean that I don't care about other people's feelings. Quite the contrary. I care greatly about other people's feelings, which is why I don't want to hurt them by leading them on to some bullshit white picket fence fantasy that I can't be a part of. And one of the most difficult decisions that I made while being in a partnership with somebody who I still love and care about dearly, but who I just ultimately did not find any hope of, you know, any kind of like marital bliss or happiness with. I decided to end the relationship. And my biggest regret is not trying to open up the relationship, but based on some of the other issues that I was having within the relationship, I decided now is not the time. And this is not going to work out for the two of us. You know, my biggest regret is that I didn't try harder with that person. She was in a lot of ways the love of my life. And I just didn't think I was ready. And now she's married and has a kid. And I think that I made the right decision in letting her go find what she wanted rather than be with me. and it hurt. To this day, it still hurts because we were very compatible. I mean, we had a very, very similar worldview. But something I'm going to talk about is you have what I feel is complete and utter bullshit, this binary of masculine and feminine energy. But let's say, for example, that the universe is aligned along these principles of masculine and feminine. I believe that we all contain both, and that we all exhibit and inhabit both, and that ideas like being nurturing and being abusive can be masculine or feminine. Well, let's talk about the abusive masculine. You have, on the one hand, the abusive masculine, the idea of the werewolf, and the idea of the and these are interchangeable. I'm not saying that you can't be a femme narcissist, but let's just say that within the hierarchy of male privilege, that you have a societal system that encourages abusive and narcissistic behavior. Well, on the other hand, you have the feminine abusive relationship energy, which is a hierarchy, a society that encourages she-wolves, hysterical, crazy women, and spider women, which are like the spider, like the person in the character in Coraline, the Spider Woman who built this elaborate, detailed, beautiful world that was a web that trapped Coraline. Let's start with werewolves. I started talking about people who are neurodivergent. So talking about myself, from my own experience, let me post the article about love bombing. Crap, it's going to take me a while to narcissists. I don't even remember. Once I find the article, though, I'll post it. It is a method. Love bombing is a method of engaging in a relationship, which is this is not the article that I wanted to find, but it is a article from Psychology Today, which talks about a narcissistic behavior known as love bombing, and how I feel about it is that, from my perspective, as somebody who is possibly a narcissist, how I feel about it is that when a person is really into another person and sees them as a potential partner, from my perspective, one of the habits that I have is to just go for it, right? No holds barred, just fall as madly and as deeply and as quickly in love as I possibly can. Well, the problem with that is that fools rush in. It may seem great and romantic to want to go in and pursue a partnership, but what happens when you get bored with them in 2 months? And you're like, we've done all the fucking, we've done every position in the Kama Sutra, where, we've had all the deep conversations. I mean, for me, 3 days is the max that I have with cohabitation with a partner. And that's because after 2 days, I'm like, dude, I just want to jack off. Like, seriously, I don't really want to be with you. I don't want to have sex with you. I kind of just want to be alone. And it's nothing to do with you. It's everything to do with the way that I operate. I feel much more safe and comfortable having space to be me by myself. A lot of people take that personally in a relationship. It's okay to need space. It's not okay to ghost. People, if you can't communicate your needs, get the fuck out of a relationship. Even friendships, if you can't communicate your needs. Now, this is a common mentality. Oh, well, I shouldn't have to ask. And yes, you're right. There should be a level of understanding and compassion and empathy. But here's how I feel. If you're consistently meeting somebody else's emotional expectations and not fulfilling and asking for the boundaries, if you're not setting clear boundaries on your own, then you're not ready for a fucking relationship. Like, there's no excusing that behavior. Don't say, oh, well, this man is making me do emotional labor. No, you need to know what you need in a relationship. And if you can't ask for it clearly, then why not? What's holding you back? Your expectation for somebody else to read your fucking mind is unfair. It's unclear. That is reason number one why I have no interest in getting into a relationship with most people, is because male or female, it doesn't matter what's between their legs. They don't have anything up here when it comes to what are my rights and responsibilities in a contract, right? So in the BDSM community, when you do a scene with somebody, there's an unwritten and an unspoken contract, and then there's the written or the spoken contract, right? So the unwritten contract is, if I get onto a hookup app, any hookup app, and I say I want to fuck somebody, right? The unwritten contract is, you're not going to rape me, you're not going to kill me, you're not going to steal from me. That's the unwritten contract. I have been fucking on since gay.com. This is before Grindr, Tinder, like what any of those other fucking apps, Growler, Scruff. There's all kinds of gay hookup apps, obviously. I've been fucking since I was 16, 14 with men. I've never had my shit stolen. I've never felt unsafe or uncomfortable. And I've never been raped. How is that possible? Oh, and I go to bathhouses all the fucking time. How is that possible? Well, number one, I look like I could fuck somebody up. I'm actually a pussycat, but like I look like I could fuck somebody up, number one. Number two, communication is happening at all moments. And if you don't, I mean, a lot of it is nonverbal. But if you don't want somebody touching your dick, you just move their hand away. That's all you got to do. It's very simple. If you want somebody to stop, you communicate, stop. I'm not blaming victims here, but I am saying that we do have a society that encourages women not to see their bodies as their property, as their own. It encourages women not to have autonomy and control over their own bodies. Well, if you need a lesson how to say no, I will be happy to come over and be like, there are so many ways to say no and be clear about it. I had one partner who felt threatened physically by me, and she immediately, very intelligently, switched to dismissing my bullying behavior. And it was very effective. And I mean, I'll play out the scenario for me. We were talking about money, which is what couples fight about a lot of times. And I, in a very instinctual way, kind of, squared up a little bit, talking about, well, I paid both of our halves of the rent this month, and what are you doing to contribute? And she switched around and responded and said, you think you're bigger than me? You think that you're a big man, that you're going to threaten me physically? And I realized what I was doing, and I backed down, because I realized, you know what? That's not the type of behavior the energy that I want to bring to this this relationship. So I felt very, very, in that moment, I felt checked. I felt like I was being called in, and realized, and I'm saying that's a good thing, I realized in that moment what I was doing was bullying behavior. And so she gave me a mirror to see myself, to see my reflection. There's a reason that silver is used as a weapon against vampires and werewolves. Well, because making a creature reflect on themselves, showing them what a monster that they've become, gives them pause for reflection. Vampires are narcissists, and werewolves are rageaholics. And I'm totally a fucking rageaholic. I feel powerful when I'm angry, but that's because I feel weak when I'm afraid. This is the cultural programming that I was given because of this right here. If I were born female-bodied, and those of you who don't know, I identify as trans. If I were born assigned female at birth, I would be taught that fear and vulnerability is almost like my natural state, and that anger is forbidden. A complete role reversal, right? Well, fuck that. Expressing anger is human, but being a bully is abusive. So it's looking at things like, how do women and men heal in a way that is honest? Because I don't believe in this bullshit about love and light, and it's okay to be, do no harm. Well, sometimes you need to harm a motherfucker to make sure that they don't harm another motherfucker. You know what I mean? It takes wisdom to know when it's okay and when it's not. Well, that's why we don't have children playing with fire all the fucking time. That's why if you have a kid and they're getting too close to the flame, or if they're getting too close to the burner, some parents are like, go ahead and touch that shit. See how that feels. Sometimes you need to get burned to learn a lesson. Now, personally, that seems a bit extreme and abusive, but I don't. There's a reason I don't have kids. Thank God. To my knowledge, I mean, it's entirely possible that somebody was like, I'm just going to have sex with you without a condom and then not tell you when I got pregnant. And part of me is very sad if that had happened. But fuck it, I'm not ready. I'm definitely not ready. And I would love to have kids, but I can't do the thing right now. Let's just put it that way. I gotta fix what's going on up here first. So let's talk about the masculine really quick. You have abusers, you have narcissists. Now, I don't like the terms neurodivergent and neurotypical. And let me explain why. Look at somebody like 45. A lot of people have looked at that person and said, well, let's blame it on psychosis. And that, to me, that is just like, or having a neurodivergent brain. That, to me, is like blaming the people who are doing these mass shootings, saying it's entirely because they're neurodivergent. I think that it's possible that the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's not that they're entirely neurotypical, but it's not because they are, I don't want to take away their agency and their responsibility and the accountability part of it, because the fact of the matter is they should be held responsible for what it was that they chose to do. Not everybody that owns guns and is neurodivergent goes around shooting everybody. To be a Charles Whitman, who was trained by the U.S. military, something else is added to that. And it's an idea of wanting to take back power that was taken from them somehow. And that is a very important component. That's what these men are doing, because it is the majority is men that are doing these shootings. Well, the way that we do that is by looking at the fact that they have felt in some way that they needed to take back power that had been taken from them. So in the context of a relationship, when a narcissist love bombs, they jump on somebody and they seem like a very compassionate and loving and giving and wonderful, the perfect partner. Well, what happens? They get bored. What happens? They start exhibiting abusive behavior. Why? Narcissists are all about themselves. So when you say, hey, when you say this, you hurt me, and a narcissist says, there's a great meme. The narcissist says, baby, when you say I hurt you, it hurts me. Well, no, fucking gaslighter. That's not how this shit works. She's clearly communicating to you, you are an abusive asshole. If you don't change your behavior, I'm out the door. And the narcissist is going to manipulate, gaslight, abuse, manipulate, and I'm trying to think of the word here. Basically, like the narcissist is going to do everything in their power to get their way. Well, narcissists want a slave, essentially. They want a non-consensual pet. They want somebody who's there for their needs, and nothing else. They want a servant. They want a robot. Let's switch it up and talk about she-wolves. Well, women historically are not allowed to express anger. So let me give you a great example. I had this beautiful friend, beautiful person, totally lovely. But when she couldn't get her way, when she was having trouble with her emotions, and she suffered from PTSD, she would throw a tantrum. And to, a lot of male-bodied people, this was crazy, hysterical behavior. Well, if you've lived your whole life being gaslit, throwing a tantrum is a very tempting way to, raging is a very tempting way to try and get yourself heard and understood. I don't condone it, but I also don't condone my own rageaholic behavior. Let's talk about spider women, because I feel like spider women are sort of a narcissist reflection of the masculine energy. One of the things that ultimately, let's say I have this person, I don't want to use their name because to protect their identity, but I have this person, and let's call them, okay, it's the same person that I was talking about before. It's the only person that let's call them my fiance, because I was very seriously considering proposing to them. So this person, my ex-fiance, wanted me to be a version of myself that I was not. They wanted me to have a full-time job, which I was not interested in doing anymore. They wanted me to be looking at, becoming a parent. They wanted me to be all these things that I wasn't. And I'm like, here, look at it this way. If I can't be like, hey, you need to shave your chocha. Hey, you need to lose 30 pounds. Hey, you need to blah, 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 blah. If I can't do that, then you can't tell me about, oh, hey, you need to go get a job. Hey, you need to be this. You need to be that. You need to lose 30 pounds. You need to fucking get off your ass. And it's like, no, I'm quite content to be the person that I am. You don't love me the way I am? Get the fuck out the door. Don't love me. Go find somebody that will make you happy. It ain't me, because this is who I am right now. I'm flawed. I'm working on it, but it takes time. You want me to change overnight? Get the fuck out the door. Get the fuck out of my life. I don't need somebody that is going to talk to me that way. You don't want a partner. You want a puppy. Go find a puppy. Go get a cute little puppy. Don't fuck with me. I'm a flawed, fucked up individual. Love me the way that I am. Help me when I ask for it, but don't give me you know what unsolicited advice is like? It's like an unsolicited dick pic. Don't fuck with me that way. It's abusive. It's hurtful. It's controlling, micromanaging, domineering behavior. Now, you wouldn't like it if a man did it to you. Why the fuck are you trying to do it to me? I am not trying to play with people like that anymore. I'm not interested in it. People that want to control me can get the fuck out of my life. Now, if you want to love me as an equal, we can talk. If you want to love me as a partner, we can talk. But so far, every relationship that I've had, and most of them are with female-bodied people. I have sex with men and women and trans people, and gender non-conforming, and I have stopped having relationships primarily with women because it always follows that pattern of 1-2 weeks into the relationship, maybe you should do this, baby. Maybe you should do that, baby. Well, get the fuck out of my life. I'm not interested in that anymore. If I wanted a mother, I would pick up the phone and call my mother for advice. You ain't the one. You taint my mom. So fuck off with that. No, it's unsolicited. It's rude. You don't like it when other women do it to you. Oh, your skin's looking a little patchy. Maybe you should try this, blah, blah, blah. Did I ask you, bitch? What the fuck? You don't like it when other women do it to you. Why the fuck are you doing it to your partner? Fuck out of here with that. And you see, I am actually physically in my body. I can feel my heart rate going up. I can feel myself getting angry, and it's empowering. I'm working on that, but I'm not there yet. And I ain't fucking interested in hurting other people unless they deserve it. Now, we're at the 40-minute mark. If you have any questions, you can type them at any time. I'm happy to ask any questions. But I think I actually covered a lot of what I wanted to cover. I'm going to be posting both on my YouTube page where this ends up and on my own Facebook page. I'm going to be posting links to the other two classes. This is a work in progress, and it's actually really fun, and I'm going to see how I can monetize this. To kind of wrap everything up into to make something, an attempt at a conclusion just on the ideas that I touched on here. Again, shapeshifters and changelings, which would be werewolves and to some extent the vampire narcissist and Jekylls and Hydes and she-wolves and spider women. They begin one way in a relationship and then they become somebody completely different. Well, what we need to do as loving individuals who are seeking love is be able to look for the red flags. I didn't talk about red flags. If you can't identify a narcissist, it's this is kind of a recap of looking at vampires. If you can't identify a narcissist, these are a few things that you want to look at. You want to look at how much they see themselves or how they see themselves, but do they actually reflect? So you can be a person that looks in the mirror every day to look for your external beauty, but are you looking deeper inside to see your spiritual beauty? I mean, right now I'm looking at the video of myself and I'm like, shit, I got bags under my eyes, I'm looking kind of pudgy, looking a little bloated, but am I looking at my soul? Am I saying I'm depressed? Am I doing something about it? Am I trying to eat better, trying to work out? Am I trying to find some spiritual peace? Do I have a practice? If the answer is to no of all these questions, as well as all the other red flags, mansplainer, doesn't actually listen, which is a huge one. I'm guilty of it. Only interested in themselves in bed, does not try to be, sexually supportive, only wants to give you back rubs or anything, any kind of like touch or affection as a precursor to sex. Doesn't want to just rub your hands or your feet because they actually care about you and love you. Then these are all red flags. Don't fuck narcissists. I don't know how to tell it to you better than that. As far as she-wolves and spider women, it's okay and necessary for everyone to express anger, but there's healthy ways of doing that, and there's unhealthy ways of doing that. Throwing a tantrum is not fucking... I mean, look at fucking Kavanaugh on the stand. Throwing a tantrum, we all knew he was lying by his body language, and he was throwing a fucking tantrum. Look at 45, throwing a tantrum. I will shut down the government. I will shut down the government. Okay. For the sake of argument, let's say I agreed with building a wall. This is not the way to do it. You don't cut 800,000 people's salaries just because you can't get your fucking way. That's not how this shit works. Well, let's bring that into, a relationship. If a woman just starts fucking yelling and causing a scene, let's say, well, if she's being raped, then yes, absolutely, cause a scene. But if you're in a restaurant trying to have a civil conversation, that's a red flag right there. It's like, no, we're trying to talk, and you're going to talk about whatever, that's not appropriate. If you're, a spider woman, if you've got somebody that's controlling you, and if you feel like anybody walking on eggshells in a relationship is a red flag. And I don't fuck with people if I feel like I'm having to constantly walk on eggshells. I don't. It's like, and you all know how if somebody wants to cut me out of their life, good. They're protecting themselves. I'm okay with that. I'm not a nice person sometimes. So good. Yeah, if you want to unfriend, unfollow, be my guest. But I generally, as a practice, do not cut people out of my life unless they are the worst. Like they are fucking toxic abusers. And I've blocked my own family, my brothers, my older brother specifically, because it's like, dude, you're a toxic as hell. You're transphobic as hell. Stay the fuck away from me. I don't want any texts from you. I don't want any phone calls. No, fuck that. So if a woman or a man is being toxic in a relationship and trying to control you, if they're gaslighting you, which my last relationship, I dated what essentially was a black lesbian. I'm saying that she was black and she basically was a lesbian, but occasionally partnered with male-bodied people. And she was with me as a partner the day that I came out as trans, which was a surprise to me. It was my 34th birthday, and I was not expecting to come out as trans. Well, I was with her, and she gaslit me, and I gaslit her. Apparently, we gaslit each other. Well, how does that happen? Well, I mean, she basically was like, "You're gaslighting me," and I'm like, I spent weeks combing through all of my texts, and I would ask people, I'd be like, "How am I gaslighting her? How am I gaslighting her?" And then finally, I was like, she pulled the old, "You're gaslighting me," and gaslit me by using the "you're gaslighting me." I mean, I will admit I raised my voice on occasion, but stonewalling is not a good behavior. I mean, Google toxic lesbian relationships, and you will see that there are certain toxic behaviors, passive aggressive toxic behaviors that women have been using with each other for fucking centuries. And when they try to use them with men, then they have mixed results. Narcissists, look, if you stop responding to me, I'll fucking cut you out of my life. No problem. I don't need to worry. Oh, did I say the wrong thing? Oh, did I, no, I don't need that bullshit. I'll be like, all right, it's been 3 days. I haven't heard from you. When you're ready to have a conversation like an adult, I'll be here. But until then, stay out of my way. Like, I don't need fucking people that use their communication and their relationship to me as some kind of weapon. No, it's like, no, you're either in this thing and want to work on it or not. That's how I feel. You're either trying to build something with somebody in a relationship, or you're trying to destroy that other person. And that's not a relationship. That's war. And I'm not about war right now. I'm about healing and growing and understanding. I appreciate the two of you, I guess, that are watching. But I appreciate if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, there will be more of these, and I'll try to do a better job of planning it ahead of time. I just had a lot of stuff on my mind, and I wanted to do something creative with it. And this series has been very therapeutic for me, myself. 10 years from now, I might look back at these and be like, I don't agree with half of what I said. But the wonderful thing about having a digital presence is that I have a lot of different mirrors that I can use to check myself and say, hey, am I actually growing? Am I actually healing? Am I actually a better person today than I was 10 years ago? And generally, I would say yes. I appreciate the support, and I'm going to try and find a way to actually monetize this because the struggle is real. And thank you again.